This week on Hometown Ghost Stories. In a quiet Appalachian town in 1897, a young woman named Zona was found dead under mysterious circumstances. Her husband's strange behavior and a rushed burial left lingering doubts in the quiet mountain town. Zona's mother, haunted by visions of her daughter's ghost, became convinced her death was no accident. What followed was one of the strangest murder investigations in American history, led by a ghost.
Hometown Ghost Stories contains serious and often distressing events and is not intended for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
The cabin was silent, except for the faint crackling of dying embers in the fireplace. Mary Jane Hester sat up in bed, her breath shallow and her heart hammering in her chest. The air had changed. It was thicker, heavier, and much, much colder than it should be. For 4 nights now, something had been waking her. A presence. A weight in the room that made her skin stiffen and her stomach tighten. Tonight, though, it was stronger. Much stronger. She turned towards the doorway, and there, just beyond the dying fire's glow, stood a figure. Zona. Her daughter stood there, wearing a black dress. Not the white burial gown that she had been laid to rest in. The shadows clung to her, the fabric absorbing the dim light, making her seem like an extension of the darkness itself. But Mary Jane knew it was her. Zona's face was pale, her features sharp in the flickering firelight. Her lips were pressed together, her eyes a bit hollow, and they were filled with sorrow. Mary Jane wanted to speak, but her voice was caught in her throat. Zona stepped closer, her feet silent against the wooden floor.
Mama.
The whisper drifted through the air, thin and strained.
He killed me.
Mary Jane's breath hitched. A sick dread curled in her stomach, but she couldn't look away. Zona's expression didn't change as she spoke again.
He broke my neck, Mama. Snapped it in his hands.
And then her head twisted. Slowly, with a dry, brittle crack, it turned. Inch by inch, until her chin faced backward, until Mary Jane was staring at the back of her daughter's head. The fire flickered violently, casting terrifying shadows across the walls. Mary Jane clutched the blanket over her lap, her hands trembling. Her pulse pounded in her ears, but it wasn't over. Zona's body began to twist. Her feet, legs, and torso slowly turned away from Mary Jane and toward the open doorway, which meant Zona's head was coming around to face her mother again. Now Mary Jane was staring at the back of her daughter's body, while Zona's face, filled with sorrow, looked directly at her, jutting forward from a neck twisted in an impossible direction. Mary Jane's stomach dropped. The room felt too small. The walls were pressing in, and the air was thick, making it hard to breathe. Zona's mouth parted one last time.
Now you know.
And then she turned, walking away, her feet never quite touching the ground. Her body moved toward the doorway, fading with each step. But her head remained twisted. Her sorrowful face staring back at Mary Jane. Even as the rest of her dissolved into shadow, that face lingered watching, unblinking until the room was empty once more. And now, Mary Jane Hester knew the truth. I'm Rob Coakley, and this is Hometown Ghost Stories, Greenbrier County, West Virginia. What if I told you that a ghost once gave testimony that helped convict her own killer? That's pretty unbelievable, right? But it's true, and it happened right here in America. More specifically, in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, back in the year 1897. Zona Heaster was born in 1876 near the small community of Meadow Bluff in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. Growing up, Zona was described by neighbors and family friends as cheerful and outgoing, with a spirited personality and a striking appearance. From childhood, she was very close to her mother, Mary Jane Hester, who was also known throughout the county as both strong-willed and deeply religious. Zona's father, Jacob Hester, was a hard-working farmer who instilled traditional values into his family. As Zona reached young adulthood, she caught the eye of many local suitors, and at one point was potentially married and had a child that passed at birth. After the death of the child, this relationship would end quickly, though. And in October of 1896, a charismatic newcomer arrived in Greenbrier County, a blacksmith named Erasmus Stribling Trout Shue, who was going by the name of Edward in his new home. Moving from Pocahontas County, Shue presented himself as charming, confident, and well-spoken. His background was somewhat mysterious, and despite his handsome appearance, rumors soon circulated regarding his past. But he was very open to everyone that he had spent time in jail for stealing a horse. Zona, however, was quickly captivated by Trout's confident charm. The two embarked on a whirlwind courtship, and within weeks of their initial meeting, they announced their engagement. Mary Jane, Zona's mother, was not happy about this at all. Known for her intuition, she felt immediately suspicious of Trout, perceiving something sinister hidden behind his pleasant exterior. She urged Zona to reconsider, often pleading with her daughter to slow down, warning that she barely knew this man. Mary Jane's instincts were strong, but Zona, young, infatuated, and fiercely independent, refused to heed her mother's warnings. Tensions between mother and daughter grew during this period. Their typically close relationship became strained and filled with arguments, as Zona adamantly defended her choice. In October of 1896, shortly after they first met, Zona and Edward were married quietly. They settled into a modest two-story home near Livesay's Mill, intending to begin their new life together, seemingly unconcerned by the skeptical eyes of their neighbors and family. But Mary Jane never fully accepted their union. She maintained a wary distance, privately confiding in friends and relatives about her unease. She would later recall a persistent nagging feeling, almost like a premonition that she described as divine, that Zona was placing herself in danger. Zona and Edward had been married for only 3 months when tragedy abruptly struck on January 23, 1897. That day began like any other winter morning in Greenbrier County. Trout left their home early, heading to his blacksmith shop nearby. Sometime during the day, he sent a young helper by the name of Andy to his house to ask Zona if she'd need anything on his way home. When Andy arrived at the Shue residence later that morning, the home was unusually silent. After knocking repeatedly without answer, the boy cautiously opened the front door and stepped inside. There, at the foot of the stairs, he was met with a shocking scene. Zona's body lay stretched out on the floor, her feet neatly together, one arm resting gently across her stomach. Her head was slightly turned, and her eyes remained wide open, staring blankly upward. Terrified, Andy fled immediately, rushing home to tell his mother what he had discovered. His mother quickly sent word to the nearby doctor and to Edward. Based on reports, it took Dr. Knapp a few hours to make it to the Shue's home, and Edward had already made it home much faster. Upon entering the house, Edward's behavior quickly turned peculiar. He swiftly took charge of the situation, moving Zona's body from the bottom of the stairs up to their bedroom. Edward would dress Zona's body in a high-neck gown with an unusually stiff collar, which was unusual, as this was typically reserved for the women in the community to do. When Dr. Knapp arrived to examine Zona, Trout remained at her bedside, openly grieving, but in a suspiciously exaggerated manner. Every time Dr. Knapp attempted to examine Zona's head or neck area closely, Edward would become visibly distressed, holding Zona's head protectively in his hands, crying uncontrollably, and ultimately preventing a thorough inspection. Because of Edward's interference, Dr. Knapp concluded his examination quickly, noting only minor bruising around her neck, which he assumed occurred naturally during her collapse. Without evidence of foul play, Dr. Knapp recorded Zona's death initially as a everlasting faint, later updating the record vaguely to childbirth, despite uncertainty if Zona had even been pregnant at the time. At the funeral, held shortly thereafter, Trout's strange behavior persisted. He stood guard at the coffin throughout the service, keeping mourners at a distance. He had placed a pillow on one side of Zona's head and a tightly rolled sheet on the other, claiming emotionally to the mourners that these were necessary to help Zona, quote, rest easier, end quote. Furthermore, he had tied a scarf tightly around Zona's neck, explaining to anyone who asked that it had been her favorite, even though it didn't begin to match her burial outfit. To many of those attending, including Zona's mother, Edward's conduct felt deeply suspicious and inappropriate. Mary Jane, already devastated by grief and still harboring doubts about her son-in-law, took notice of every unusual detail. Some short time after the burial, Mary Jane was doing laundry when something strange occurred. She was disturbed when the basin filled with a strange, foul-smelling reddish fluid. Interpreting this as a sinister omen, she began to suspect her daughter's death was no accident, and this was her sending a sign. 4 weeks after Zona's burial, Mary Jane lay awake in bed into the night, unable to sleep as she struggled with grief and unanswered questions. Suddenly, a pale, eerie glow began to form at the foot of her bed. Mary Jane watched in stunned silence as the shape gradually took form, revealing the ghostly figure of her beloved daughter Zona. For 4 consecutive nights, Zona's spirit appeared to her mother, each visitation becoming clearer and more vivid than the last. In sorrowful detail, Zona's ghost recounted the tragic events of her final moments. She explained that on the day she died, Edward had returned home and exploded into a violent rage because she had not prepared any meat for dinner. In his fury, he brutally attacked her, snapping her neck and killing her instantly. To emphasize this horrific revelation, Zona's apparition slowly turned her head completely around until it faced backward, clearly demonstrating the fatal injury that she had suffered. The visitation ended with Zona pleading urgently for justice, imploring her mother to not let her murderer escape punishment, and also to look for something hidden in a cellar. Mary Jane emerged from these encounters deeply shaken, yet certain that they were real, not hallucinations born from her grief. Trusting completely in the message delivered by her daughter's spirit, Mary Jane resolved to take immediate action. She would confront the authorities and demand they reopen the investigation into Zona's death, fully prepared to endure public ridicule if it meant securing justice for her murdered daughter. Prompted by Mary Jane's insistence and rumors circulating town of Edward's odd behavior, prosecutor John Alfred Preston agreed to reopen the investigation. On February 22, 1897, Zona's grave was reopened in the presence of several witnesses. The resulting autopsy exposed a chilling truth. Zona's neck was indeed broken, her windpipe crushed, and deep finger-shaped bruises encircled her throat. The evidence matched Mary Jane's claims exactly, leaving investigators convinced that Edward Shue had murdered his young wife. One of the witnesses of the autopsy, C.G. Martin, would later write this, quote, Mrs. Hester told me about her vision or dream 10 days to 2 weeks before the body of her daughter was taken up and examined. I was one of the 6 jurors at the examination of the body and heard her testimony before she knew anything of what we had found. In short, I would say upon examination, we found every iota just as Mrs. Hester had told several others and myself beforehand, except in the hollow, as located above and behind the plank in the cellar. We found nothing, although diligent search was made. Mrs. Hester is a nigh neighbor of mine, a daughter of an English sailor, and a daring, gritty woman as I ever saw. End quote. Shue would be arrested and stand trial for the murder of Zona. Some startling details would come out about Edward, including that he had been married twice before. The first, ending in divorce because he was abusive, and the second with the death of his wife under mysterious circumstances. During the ensuing trial, Mary Jane Hester took the stand and testified with unwavering conviction, recounting the ghostly visitations without hesitation. Under rigorous cross-examination, she remained steadfast. Quote, it was no dream. She came back and told me that he was mad that she didn't have no meat cooked for supper. She came 4 times and 4 nights, but the second night she told me that her neck was squeezed off at the first joint, and it was just as she told me, end quote. The jury would need only over an hour to convict Erasmus Trout Shue, otherwise known as Edward, of murder. 3 years later, he would die of a mysterious illness that swept through the jail, many believing it to be tuberculosis or a deadly flu. Zona Heaster Shue was laid to rest in the peaceful cemetery at Soul Chapel Methodist Church near Meadow Bluff in Greenbrier County, West Virginia. Both her modest gravestone and the historic roadside marker nearby draw visitors from near and far. This official marker commemorates the unique circumstances of Zona's murder trial and states, quote, interred in nearby cemetery is Zona Heaster Shue. Her death in 1897 was presumed natural until her spirit appeared to her mother to describe how she was killed by her husband Edward. Autopsy on the exhumed body verified the apparition's account. Edward, found guilty of murder, was sentenced to state prison. Only known case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer, end quote. Even now, well over a century later, visitors and locals alike report seeing a faint, ghostly figure wandering the area near Zona's grave on occasion. Some claim that the figure quietly moves along the graveyard, while others say they've glimpsed her standing solemnly by her own gravestone, eternally seeking peace, or perhaps still quietly watching over the place that forever ties her tragic story to West Virginia's haunted history.
What is going on, folks? Welcome into Hometown Ghost Stories, episode number 158. I usually know that because it's usually right at the top of the screen, but it's not there today. So I don't know, 158, 159-ish. I'm Jesse Wilkins. I'm joined by Rob Coakley. Hello, Rob.
So we're going to be talking about West Virginia today, but I just have to make a quick statement. We went to Ohio this weekend for an investigation, and while we were in Cleveland, the restaurant we were in had the audacity to claim that it's the birthday capital of the world?
Midwest.
Of the Midwest. Okay, sorry. What does that even mean? What are we doing, Cleveland?
In Cleveland, everyone has 2 birthdays a year. So it skyrockets those numbers. We're also joined by Dave. Hello, Dave.
Hello. Yes, I was also baffled by that claim.
You would think with how old Dave is that he has actually been having 2 birthdays a year, but he does not because he does not live in Cleveland.
Yes, I am the birthday capital of the Midwest.
So we're covering the wild case of the Greenbrier ghost today. I do want to give a quick shout out to those who donated in Super Chat here. We had Crazy Legs with 20 gifted Hometown Ghost Stories memberships. Jeannie R threw in $20 in Super Chat. Appreciate that. Crazy Legs came back with another $5. Papa Squatch threw in $19.99. Took time out of his Disneyland adventure or Disney World adventure. I'm not sure which one he's at, but he's much closer to Disney World, so I'd assume he's there. But either way, big shout out to Papa Squatch for that. Another Vice came in with 10 gifted. Lockwood and Company threw in $20 in Super Chat. Andrew McGuire came in with $4.99 and said, Greenbrier Valley Brewing has a great line of legends and cryptids inspired beers, including Zona's Revenge wit beer.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Is that what was it? Wit beer?
Some people pronounce it Vit beer, but those people I don't like to talk to.
All right. And so thank you guys so much for the super chats, and big shout out to our RIP of the week, who was Jeremy M. Congratulations, Jeremy. Well earned. And RIP to you, my friend. But without further ado, we actually have a special guest today. So I have been binging his videos on YouTube because they are wildly entertaining. A very controversial figure in the paranormal community, but he's here to join us. And he is known as the Side-Eye Guy, and he's actually wearing his Side-Eye mask, which is pretty awesome. Welcome in, Side-Eye Guy.
How's it going? Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. So if you're unfamiliar with his content, he is on YouTube, and he does debunking videos, but I heard that you also do some paranormal investigation stuff as well.
I've dabbled.
You've dabbled. Nice. But I feel like that's the best way to do it. If you're going to be a debunker, you might as well, jump into the field as well. So that way, you know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it started. I was like, I was finding sometimes when I was like making my videos, I was like, I've got to do this because otherwise I just sound kind of, I don't know. I did kind of feel like I was coming out of a place of ignorance. And when I started doing the investigations, I was like, you know what? I've got to dial back some of the points I'm making here because I don't know, when you're actually there and you're doing it, it's a different. It hits different.
It does, yeah. And it's honestly, it's more legitimate, I think, if you've tested out the equipment and you've dealt with some of the things that you're talking about in these videos. So I will also give you credit. You're one of the very few guests that we've had on the show that has a better British accent than me. So that's very hard to come by, they say. So impressive.
I was watching one of your videos, and you made the point that you straight up just don't believe in demons. You still hold true to that?
Me? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Cool.
I don't believe in demons.
That's cool. Is that is that true for all intelligent hauntings? Just straight up don't buy in?
So if you that's a very, I should be able to answer that very simply, but I'm afraid I can't. So I apologize, everyone, for giving a long-winded answer here. As far as like what we can consider intelligent hauntings, I will give, and it might just be more out of want, but I will give like a slight chance that there might be something out there as far as like an intelligent supernatural being. Whether you want to call that a ghost, a spirit, a demon, whatever you want to call it. I'll give it demons for me. I'm an atheist, so demons are a flat out no for me. And a big reason I will say is why I give an outside chance that ghosts might be real. Is I do. There's a slight chance that I might have seen one when I was younger. So, and I debunk myself. I'm not just like going after like the big channels. I all the time kind of try and debunk what I think I saw. And I think there's probably some cases for like what we understand now about memory and what we understand about adolescent memories in particular and being influenced. There's a lot of evidence out there to support that. So I'm saying I do believe there might be a chance that happened to me. However, and this goes for anyone out there who thinks they've had like some sort of paranormal experience, is why I don't really like debunking people's personal experiences unless it's like someone who's like known to be overtly fake, because when something like that has happened to you, it's very hard to unsee that or when it's happened to you, it's very difficult to deconstruct that in a way that's like you think it didn't really happen the way you think it happened, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. It sounds like you're just coming at it from like a skeptical standpoint, which I think is the way you should go at it. That's the way I try to go at things, like, because I consider myself a skeptic, and that like basically just means that I reserve belief in things for things that have evidence. Would that be kind of where you're coming from?
We bring that up all the time as well when you're
evidence is key. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. When we're breaking down cases, because we'll do this in the, so for the first part of the show, we'll give the ghost story, pretty much as is. Sometimes we bring up some skeptical viewpoints on certain hauntings, but we also bring up, like, when we're doing investigations ourselves, our first go-to is always, okay, let's figure out what this could have been scientifically, or what could have this been. Is it the wind? Could it have been one of our pieces of equipment interacting with another piece of equipment? That's always our first go-to. And then if we can't find an explanation for it, then we say, well, maybe it is paranormal. And then we kind of leave it up to the viewers to decide whether or not they think it might be a ghost. And I think that's kind of our approach when we're doing investigations, just because we want to, we don't want to be one of those channels that just like, and then this happened, it was definitely a ghost, I was definitely possessed or something like that. So it's kind of an important way to go about things. But
so let's well, hang on. Relax. Because so evidence, right? So if you require evidence to believe in something, which I think is completely rational, not irrational, would you accept philosophical evidence for an intelligent haunting?
Can I have an example of this?
Sure. So it's kind of a wide concept, but I think I can boil it down. So you believe in the laws of logic?
For the most part, yes.
Okay. Like, for instance, the law of identity, right? Like only you can be you. Nobody else can be you.
If within sound mind, yes.
Sure. And do you believe that's a conceptualization of the human mind, or do you believe it's always true?
I think it's conceptualization. I think we're getting.
So, all right. For instance, I'm gonna. So I promise these aren't trick questions. I'm not trying to like trap you.
No. I'm not treating it as like I don't believe you're trying to do a gotcha thing. It's I don't know. I don't normally find people that want to talk about this sort of stuff. This is interesting. Okay, so if we're talking about what we identify as self, as I say, that kind of comes down to if we're off sound mind, only we can identify as ourselves.
Okay.
But what if you, for want of a better word, if you just got mental health problems? And I do think sometimes some of the accounts, especially with like some of the more famous, well-known hauntings, there have been a lot of accusations that mental health play a very big factor into that.
That's fair. I can make it, let's simplify it even more, right? Like the law of non-contradiction, right? Two competing ideas can't be true at the same time, right? Just like basic, like law of non-contradiction.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Would that be a conceptualization of the human mind, or something that's always true?
That two concepts of
two competing, like
reality cannot coexist.
Two competing concepts, like two like opposites, like up can't be down, down can't be up.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yes.
Okay, and that's always true, not a conceptualization of the human mind.
Yeah, I think that would always be true, because that could be mainly because we can actually do tests to make that we can all agree on that is in fact
cool.
True.
So
that's like that.
So that would be an objective truth, basically.
An objective truth, yes.
Okay, so objective. So if we know there can be objective truth, that means objective knowledge is a thing.
Yeah. Objective knowledge. Yeah, I would say so. Yes.
Does knowledge presuppose?
I would also kind of add into that this is an evolving thing that can always change. So what objective truth was several hundred years ago would be a very different concept to what it is today, because that's what the idea of science or psychology or whatever it is. It's evolving. It's always changing.
But that would be
so. I understand we can only go by what we have today, but I just think that's an important footnote to put in there, that that's not concrete. There's always an opportunity for that to actually evolve into something else. That's how.
But I mean, like the most basic principle of logic, right? Like a million years ago, planet Earth couldn't have been something other than planet Earth. It was just the idea. Kind of transcends the human mind, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
So if there's objective knowledge, does knowledge presuppose a knower?
Sorry, one more time.
Does knowledge presuppose a knower? Can you have knowledge without something to know the knowledge?
Oh, I thought you were saying Noah as in the name Noah.
No.
So I was like, are we talking about Noah's Ark all of a sudden?
Did anyone know anything before Noah's Ark?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'll go like that. Yeah.
Okay. So in a situation where no human mind exists, who would the knower be? If an objective truth transcends the human mind, can exist without it.
Sorry. We're getting to a level here I'm not used to. So I just want
to almost there.
I'm going to be honest. Okay. I have no idea what's going on. So I'm just
you lost me 26 minutes.
Right, let me just tie this up into a quick thing, right? So if objective truth exists and it transcends the human mind, and therefore we can have knowledge of objective truth, that would be objective knowledge.
Who's obtaining that knowledge? Who's absorbing that knowledge? If there's no human mind to observe, are we getting to a supreme being?
We're right there. Yeah. So the existence of objective truth necessitates an immaterial thinking agency.
How can you measure objective truth if it's not obtained by someone else's mind that can communicate it to someone else? Like you could make the argument that objective truth is just there in the ether. But if it's not, like, objective truth could be there for a giraffe, but a giraffe won't understand or be able to.
Right. So that's why it would have to be an intelligent thinking agent, right?
Yes.
So otherwise, there'd be no foundation. There'd be no foundation for abstract principles like reason and ration. So my conclusion here is, and a lot of people will follow this all the way to God. I'm not even taking it that far. I'm just saying that if knowledge presupposes a knower, and we believe that objective truth transcends the human mind, then I think that would at least, and I won't make you say yes, but it at least makes it reasonable to believe in the existence of some sort of spiritual realm of an intelligent thinking agency, whether that be spirits, whether it be demons, angels, or a god, or at least worthy of investigating.
First off, I would always say I know I make fun of a lot of people that investigate, and I investigate myself. I don't believe no one. I don't believe. I'm going to get back to your point here, but I just want to make this very clear that I have said many times in my videos that I understand why people want to go investigate, and I think it's a worthy cause to go investigate, because without that, like, I think the chances of us finding an answer for this are very, 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 very slim, but not zero. And if we just all have that attitude, then we may not potentially get an answer to one of the biggest questions we've always had about life after death. That's one of the biggest questions mankind has always had, and you're not going to find that unless you try and make the effort to find those answers, right? So I don't think it's a pointless endeavor. I think a lot of people go about it in very silly and comical ways, but I think the people who are trying to do it seriously, or the people who just want to do it as a bit of fun, a bit of hobby, crack on, do your thing. But going back to what you're saying here is that my question to be with this would be kind of what I was going at before, is that if there is no one there to communicate this objective truth or objective reality, then it might it kind of falls on deaf ears, quite literally.
But that's kind of my point, though, right?
How do we know it's real?
Well, we're experiencing it right now.
We are, because we're able to communicate with each other. But if you're saying that the reality, the objective reality, can be there about someone that we can't see, hear, feel, communicate with, then how it might as well not exist.
Well, my argument is that it's logically necessary. It necessitates the existence of something beyond humans that is an intelligent thinker.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, we didn't have to go talk about the Greenbrier ghost here. Yeah, but I just wanted to pick your brain, because we've never had a debunker on or another. Nobody ever wants to argue with me about philosophical, skeptical things. So
no, I'm happy to do so. I just I think you're a couple of steps ahead of me or somewhere I wasn't even thinking about going. But I'm just like my own hamster wheel is kind of trying to run at this.
Yeah, I appreciate you for entertaining it.
Nice. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Severance. Let's get back to the Greenbrier Ghost. So,
the one night we wanted Dave's internet to go out, it held strong.
That was an interesting conversation.
I love that show, by the way. Love it.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I keep telling these guys to watch it.
Haven't watched
it yet. Watch it. Everyone in the chat, go watch Severance. What are you doing watching this? Go watch Severance.
Wow. Easily a top 5 show of all time. Just shut this off right now.
No, I'm kidding. Watch this first, then binge the rest of the channel content, and then go watch Severance.
Absolutely. There we go.
All right. So let's get into a bit of the Greenbrier Ghost real quick, because this is one of the more intriguing stories in the history of America in relation to a ghost. I want to hit on some notes real quick. Zona's real name was Elva. Everyone called her Zona, so I just want to make sure no one comes after me for that. I said her last name was Hester. Some have pronounced it as Heaster. I've heard it both ways. So all the things that I can get attacked for, I just want to go through real quick. I said that she may have been married. I found one of the ancestry websites that had her married to a George Woolridge, and that was where her child was born and passed away at infancy. But that was only the one account I could find. She was probably not married to George. It was probably some sort of incorrect information this website got. So I don't think she was married. I think she had a child out of wedlock, but I couldn't find a marriage certificate or anything to be for sure either way. So that stuff with Zona. And the one thing about Erasmus Stribling Trout Shue, other than having the worst name in the history of America.
I love that name.
Do you?
If I have any more kids, that entire name will be their first name.
Oh, okay. Perfect. So he's often portrayed as like this strange, mysterious newcomer to the county. But looking at his life history, he lived within West Virginia pretty much all of his life, and he was only like a county over. So theoretically, I guess he's a newcomer to Greenbrier County, but he lived in West Virginia. He's not that mysterious. He's from the state. So I think that's something that people take a bit out of context. And I have
maybe he dressed mysterious. Maybe he had like a hat with a feather in it. He had a monocle.
Yeah.
Maybe he dressed like Mr. Peanut.
And just did some blacksmith work while dressed like Mr. Peanut.
Yeah, nobody wears a monocle while doing blacksmith work. I think we're getting to the bottom of this. Debunked. Figured out. So Zona was, a young woman that lived in Greenbrier County. She was said to be full of spirit, as we saw in the video. And this man, Erasmus Stribling Trout Shue, otherwise known as Edward, of course, comes to town. And she's like smitten with him. She falls in love. They quickly get married. And it's against her mother's wishes. And shortly thereafter, one day, she ends up dead. And that's sort of where our story begins, where a child that came by to check on her to see if she needed anything from Erasmus on his way home finds her body. And she's passed away. She's deceased. The mother of the child sends word to the doctor, we're going to go with Edward for simplicity's sake on this one. And he comes home, and this is where the strange stuff begins. It takes a couple hours for the doctor to get there. And I saw people stating that it was weird that it took the doctor a bit to get there, but it's 1897. It's West Virginia. I'm sure he can't just drive over in 2 seconds. Yeah, he has to get a horse. Traveling by donkey.
Yeah, probably, or walking or taking horseback or whatever. And he gets there. Edward's already there, and he's already moved the body upstairs, dressed her, which people thought was very strange because this is not something that a husband normally does with his dead wife.
Gave her the turtleneck and everything, and he's
yeah, a big arrow pointing saying, "Don't look here."
Yeah. Please don't touch her.
Please don't look at this point. So there's that whole situation, and every time the doctor goes to check her neck, he's like cradling her more, crying more to make it so the doctor can't.
Yeah, just check her ankles again.
Yeah, just look down there, just see it. Oh, is that ankle broke? No, she's fine. She's she passed away. And she was like really young. She's like early 20s. And they originally put the cause of death as everlasting faint, right? which is how I want to go.
She fainted
honest.
forever.
Yeah, just kept fainting.
And then the other one's more peculiar because there's like childbirth.
Yeah, and they don't even know if she was pregnant.
Right.
Yes. So I will ask side-eye guy, have you ever experienced everlasting faints?
Whenever I watch Back in Amanda. Everlasting faints. That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had a dream like that before.
Yeah.
You know, like one of those dreams where you feel like you're falling forever?
Yeah. I don't like those dreams because then sometimes I wake up trying to press my arm on the ground. The worst is when I'm fighting somebody and I'm like punching up in the sky at night.
Have you been skydiving?
We have.
Yeah. You know that? So I've only done it once, but that feeling where you get thrown out of the plane by the fellow attached to you, and that sensation of falling very quickly disappears.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I found really weird about it. Like that kind of that roller coaster feeling and all the rest. You go for a dip, like that feeling kind of disappears maybe after 3 seconds.
That's a good point. I've been several times and I never actually put that together, but you're right. It just feels like wind is blowing in your face.
Yeah, it just feels like a hell of a lot of wind. Like your body equalizes to that very, very, adapts to it very quickly.
I think it's actually your body giving up. You're like, well, that's the end.
Yeah.
Why bother putting more fear into you? Yeah.
So continuing on, the strangeness happens to continue at the funeral where he is doing some more peculiar stuff, where he is at the casket, not letting people actually approach the coffin. He's tied a scarf around her neck so that people can't see it. It's really strange, but at this point, and people are noticing, by the way, people are noticing that this is not the standard practice of what a husband would do as they're burying her.
Yeah, I love that he couldn't even find a second pillow. Like he got a pillow and then rolled up a towel. He's like, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
I expect that's what you do for. That's what we do for Dave when he's drunk.
Yeah, pillow and a towel. Pillow is for comfort. The towel is in case we decide to smother him.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like a pillow would work better in that case, but we'll revisit. We'll circle back.
Well, we'll test it in theory next time. So the next thing that I want to talk about before we get further in the story is I understand that this stuff is weird, but I think this is a common problem in the history of murder cases as well, and some of the ghost stories that we've covered, where grief is always taken sort of out of context a lot of the time, like because everybody grieves differently,
especially murderers.
Well, he's a murderer, yes, but my point being is we've had so many cases where if somebody does something, they're guilty because they overreacted. If they don't do enough, they're guilty because they've underreacted, right? So there's sometimes just this set mind, which I think as we get into this story might have been something within the mother's mind where it was his fault no matter what. And whether he underreacted or overreacted, her brain was going to go to her blaming him for her death no matter what. So that is, but the whole town was sort of, he's this outsider. His young wife has died. He's acting in a fashion that they don't find standard. And I think that's a little unfair, to be completely honest. I think that's bad evidence.
It's yeah. I mean, we saw this. We kind of discussed this in the Lizzie Borden case, where that was a lot of people were saying that she was a little too nonchalant on the stand or whatever. But I mean, we also bring up the fact that she was on a ton of, what was she on, morphine or something like that. So everyone reacts to grief differently. So it is hard to take that as part of the evidence. But when it comes to the other pieces, it's, circumstantial evidence where he's, not allowing the medical examiner to look at her head or neck area, where he's trying to block that area. He put her in a dress that covers up the neck. And then, obviously they found out what they found. Andrew McGuire throwing another $4.99 in super chat, says defense in the trial was the only side to bring up the ghost, making it the only trial in America to use spectral evidence.
And we were going to get there.
At the time.
Yeah, there's been some since, hasn't there?
Some recently, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get there as well. Does anyone have any thoughts they want to discuss before we get to the mother actually seeing the ghost?
think we kind of covered the points here. His suspicion. I mean, his activity or his actions do seem suspicious to me. So
yeah,
everything
I'm not
brought up in that for sure would definitely raise some red flags.
Yeah, I'm not discrediting that at all.
We were kind of talking about this the other day, though, like somebody's state of mind after a death of a loved one could make it so they act strange.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, it's grief.
Yeah,
grief.
like you say, no one knows how you're going to react when something like that happens. So you're going through shock, you're going through grief, you're going through a hell of a lot of things. And I agree, it's not good evidence to sort of suggest that someone must be guilty because they're not acting in a way that you believe they should act. Like, well, I remember when my grandmother died and my dad weirdly kind of giggled about it in a very weird way. And later he broke down, but his initial reaction was he didn't know what to do. He's not very good at talking about these sort of things, but he didn't know what to do and all the rest of it. And he kind of weirdly smirked about it.
You actually see that kind of often with people where they don't know they kind of like the saying "laugh to keep from crying," where laugh a little bit and then they'll just start crying. Like it's kind of like almost in my mind. I think when I see someone do that, they think I'm like, oh, could this get any fucking worse? And then they break down into their true emotions, which is crying.
I mean, again, it's all different. To that point, you guys were at my grandfather's funeral. I had to give the eulogy for that, and that particular eulogy was just a roast session.
Yeah,
that was just straight up stand-up comedy set, and it was awesome. But everyone loved it.
But that's who my that was the way that should have been for that particular person and that particular response, and that's what he would have wanted, and that's how and sometimes that's how we want to remember people is like in how they made us laugh and stuff like that. So it's all different.
I've been writing Dave's eulogy, and it starts like this.
Oh, I've also been writing Dave's eulogy, but
it says, "Let me keep this short." I haven't written any more, but that's what I got so far.
Yeah,
Crazy Lakes dropping $5 in super chat says, Dave, how has your outlook on the paranormal differed compared to episode 1?
I was more of a lazy skeptic before we started the show, and now I'm still a skeptic, but I do a lot more research and thinking about thinking.
Mm-hmm. And thinking about the first person who thought before people could think, and I was following that whole thing. Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. Now we have to recommend philosophical textbooks to everybody before they listen to this episode.
I recommend Immanuel Kant.
I will have no more banter about nuclear reactors and how they work. I will take no more flack for that. Now it's Dave and his philosophies. That's how you say that word. Moving on.
Yeah, let's continue on with the Greenbrier ghost, because this is where things sort of pick up. So after the burial of Zona, her mother, Mary Jane, is pretty much visited by her spirit, she believes, 4 nights in a row. And amongst these 4 nights, the vision sort of becomes more clear. The words become more clear. And she basically tells her 2 things. Well, she said that she had like regular conversations with her as well, just about random things. But when it came to the murder, the alleged murder, I guess the actual murder because he was convicted, but she told her mother that he snapped her neck because she did not prepare the dinner that he wanted that evening, and grabbed her by the throat and snapped her neck. And she also told her to look for something in the basement, which is very strange. Now, Mary Jane had never been to Zona's new house that she shared with Edward, but she described the place in the basement perfectly, but there was nothing there. So I don't know if that means that she was just guessing based on the way houses were built in West Virginia. Perhaps she just kind of knew what the layouts were, which I think feels weird, or if he had already moved whatever that piece of alleged evidence would have been. But it's a very creepy story of your dead daughter coming to tell you about her murder. And I have some of the court transcript that I want to read, but I just kind of want to get you guys' reactions to this part of the story before we go on.
Well, it's odd when like evidence is presented that the person who is saying it couldn't have known, right? We see that sometimes with these cases where ghosts allegedly come back and give or give hints to how they were killed, right? And there always seems to be some sort of piece of evidence that they give that the person who received the evidence couldn't have possibly known, and I find that interesting.
We covered a case like this. Was it in Japan?
Yep, Japan, and there was audio of it, which was crazy.
Yeah, I am interested in your thoughts on this part of the story. There, Side Eye Guy.
I just find it interesting that that's the freaking motive.
Oh, dude, brutal.
Jesus, like how I know you always hear stories about how it was like back in the day, and just everything's just so much more brutal. Like people just, I don't know, people's lies are so terrible that that's all they need to, allegedly, to commit the most heinous acts.
Yeah. That is a particularly disturbing detail.
Yes. I am pretty interested in the court transcripts here. So was the ghost story taken seriously? Like I understand that it's a huge part of the story, obviously, but in the actual court case, when they're sorting through the evidence, was that a major piece of the evidence? We're like, well, the ghost said it.
It was a major revelation for them to dig up Zona's body and for them to re-examine her body, which it was a month later. And I was thinking like, man, that body's already been in the ground for a month, but it was in the winter. So with whatever they did to the body to preserve it and it being winter, even though it's West Virginia, that might've helped preserve it a little bit.
And what year was this?
1897.
So I don't even think the coffins were all that airtight. So, but no. I think you're right with it being winter in West Virginia. I don't know how cold it gets, but I think it gets relatively cold
enough, I would say, especially when you're underground. So that helped probably preserve the body a little bit. Her neck was snapped right where she said it was in the dream when they looked at that. And that was the major thing. Now, as it was brought up from the chat, it was not the prosecution's. They did not bring up the ghost at all. They just brought up the evidence that they had, which was really circumstantial. The defense's case rested on the ghost story, and it actually hurt them heavily. So I'm going to read you some of the transcript from this because my thought upon hearing the story and reading the story was the mother was dreaming. Like the mother had this dream of her daughter, and her daughter was, and that's how she got the image of the ghost in her head and stuff like that. But they sort of hit on this really hard in the trial, and I can, you know what? I'll present my screen so that we can see this as well, so that you can see that I actually have the actual newspaper pulled up from here. And they started with, "Now, Mrs. Hester, this sad affair was very particularly impressed upon your mind, and there was not a moment during your waking hours that you did not dwell upon it." She responded with, "No, sir, and there is not yet either." The defense goes, "And this was not a dream founded upon your distressed condition of mind?" Her answer, "No, sir, it was no dream, for I was as wide awake as I ever was." Then they respond with, "Then if not a dream or dreams, what do you call it?" She said, "I prayed to the Lord that she might come back and tell me what happened, and I prayed that she might come herself and tell on him." To which they respond, "Do you think that you actually saw her in flesh and blood?" Her answer was, "Yes, I do. I told them the very dress that she was killed in, and when she went to leave me, she turned her head completely around and looked at me like she wanted me to know all about it. And the very next time she came back to me, she told me all about it. The first time she came, she seemed that she did not want to tell me as much about it as she did afterwards. The last night she was there, she told me that she did everything she could do, and I am satisfied that she did all that too." The defense says, "Now, Mrs. Hester, don't you know that these visions, as you term them or describe them, were nothing more or less than 4 dreams founded upon your distress?" Her answer, "No, I don't know it. The Lord sent her to me to tell it. I was the only friend that she knew, so she could tell and put any confidence in it. I was the nearest one to her. He gave me a ring that he pretended she wanted me to have, but I don't know what dead woman he might have taken it off of. I wanted her own ring, and he would not let me have it. Mrs. Hester, are you positively sure that these are not 4 dreams? Yes, sir. It was not a dream. I don't dream when I'm wide awake, to be sure, and I know I saw her right up there with me. And then they ask, are you not considerably superstitious? No, sir, I'm not. I was never that way before, and I'm not now. And then he goes into some religion stuff, and it goes a lot longer. I'll link this in Discord if people want to read the full transcript of this, but I thought that was the interesting part where he is asking her, like, basically trying to trap her into saying it was a dream, and she was very steadfast in saying it was no dream.
Yeah, I agree. She was definitely, I mean, she definitely had her story down if she was making it up.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, how do you verify any of that?
Yeah. So
that's why anecdotes are almost completely useless in court.
Yeah. And it hurt their case, apparently. Like the jury believed her so much after that testimony that it just ruined his case. It also came out that he was married twice before. His first wife left him because he was abusive, and his second wife died under mysterious circumstances, which we hear all the time. No one can find a death record. I tried to find a death record for his second wife. And there's just a ton of rumors that range that she fell on ice while pregnant, that Edward himself accidentally dropped a brick on her while building a chimney. And there's also a rumor that he poisoned her, but there's no substantial evidence to any of that.
Poison bricks.
Poison bricks. Hit her when she fell right on the ice. So, nothing was ever found in the cellar, as I stated. It took the jury an hour and 10 minutes to deliberate and sentence this man to death. And there's no reports from Mary Jane that the ghost ever appeared again. However, people are now reporting that they see Zona's ghost at the graveyard and that she stands over her grave and walks along the gravestones. I'm going to be honest. I think that's probably bullshit. I think that people want stories to live on. And I'm not saying that the cemetery is potentially not haunted, but to pinpoint it to being her, I doubt it. It seemed like this was if it was a haunting, a very specific type of intelligent haunting, as we were talking about. And it doesn't seem like her spirit or whatever would be coming back to haunt the cemetery. I think that sometimes people just want to keep legends alive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I mean, if it's at her grave, I wouldn't completely rule it out, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, it is a really unique haunting, though. I mean, and the fact that it ended up in the court transcripts and everything, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And it basically led to them asking more questions and getting the case reopened. So,
yeah.
And a conviction, right?
And a conviction, yeah. And then he ended up dying 3 years later in jail from, I read there was an illness sweeping the jail, and it sort of took out a lot of the prisoners. It wasn't specified. It could have been tuberculosis. It could have been like a flu, but we're not 100% sure on.
It'd be crazy if. Go ahead.
No, crack on. No, you go.
Oh, I was just going to say it would be crazy if his ghost came back and was like, no, her ghost came and poisoned me.
It just kept going.
I was just going to ask, like, how much time was there between the first trial and when it got reopened?
Oh, so there was no trial. So this timeline is quick. So basically, she dies in January.
Yeah.
The hauntings happen a few weeks after her death. The 4 nights, which I believe were consecutive from what I've read, were. They dig her up in February. He's on trial in June and convicted by July, I believe, because court cases happened so much faster back then. So, and he never had a second trial. He just.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah, no. Well, it's a little, well, because it's a little weird, right? Like I understand the confusion there, because you would think that they started off with the murder investigation, but they didn't until Mary Jane had the ghost appear to her and she demanded her body be exhumed. So it's a little weird. I do want to talk a little more about the cemetery hauntings real quick, and just sort of get everyone's opinion on that before we wrap this up. So everything I can find on the cemetery hauntings just feels like one of those legend tales where I scoured for some firsthand accounts. You know, sometimes you can find people that write what they saw, when they saw it, and all that. And I found those for other cemeteries and stuff. I can't find any of that for this haunting. All I can find is the basic, she haunts hair and it's been said, you know, the classic, it's been said, it's rumored, or blah, 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 blah.
Right. So it's just a legend. So I wouldn't rule out, you know, that the cemetery could be haunted by someone, but I would need a firsthand account describing why you think it's her ghost that's haunting there, if there are ghosts haunting there. So, like I said, like it could be a haunted cemetery for sure. Could be ghost sightings there for sure. But how do we know it's her?
Right. It's the war thing where they're like, we know it was General Grant because his cigar was being smoked and we could smell cigars. Like 90% of those soldiers probably smoke cigars. So if you're smelling a cigar, I don't think you can pinpoint that to one specific person. We just sort of want to pinpoint hauntings to the most notable person in the area, and she's probably the most notable person.
I've made comments on this before where I always find it very strange when people kind of attribute whatever they believe they saw to a specific person that died. And often I just kind of think you are very much putting two and two. Even if what you account was true and all the rest of it, you're attributing that just pure guesswork.
Yeah.
For the most part, that is actually you're going to like put that two and two together to it just so happens to be the most famous person.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be a house or a cemetery or whatever, like it's always the most infamous or the most well known.
Yeah.
And yeah, like sometimes you can go by something as simple as like, oh, I smell perfume. Oh, it must be lady whatever, dame whatever. And it's like, well, if what you're saying is true, I'm sure everyone would have worn perfume.
It's true. We've talked about this on other cases too, like in Gettysburg. There's the smell of a cigar that everyone's like, oh, it's the ghost of Robert E. Lee. He smoked cigars. It's like, dude, everyone smoked cigars, and everyone died here. Could be anyone.
I've always thought the same thing about demons. When we were talking about demons earlier, if someone says demon this, demon that, it's like, what's the difference between a demon and just a poltergeist or a pissed off ghost?
No, that's a good point, actually. And I was kind of thinking about that when you said I'm an atheist, therefore I don't believe in demons. But demons could be real even if all religion is not real, right? It just could be a mischaracterization of a
I mean, like for me, when I say the word demon, I'm thinking of a demonic creature from hell. I'm thinking I'm thinking the Christian Catholic kind of like definition of what we say demon is. And I think most of the time that's what people think of when they say demon. But you know, obviously you got like the metaphorical demon of what's inside us, that kind of demon. That 100%. If you want to call that a demon, I'm with you on that one. Which I think the vast majority of what we consider demon possessions is just that. You know, but like, you know, if there is such a thing as a spiritual or, you know, supernatural label of a demon, why can't it just be a pissed off, a person that lived, died, now a spirit, and they're just angry?
Yeah, I completely agree with that as well. And I think another good thing to sort of go by with that is each culture has different types of spirits, right? Like that they just categorize as different names, but some of them all just are sort of the same thing. So we're just using different names for what we're experiencing, whether it's a yokai, a demon, a poltergeist, or whatever. They're all attributing a lot of the same energy that we see in these places. So I think that's 100% true. I think the problem with the demon name is it just gets overused too much, and we start seeing people use it when it probably shouldn't be used is what I would say with that particular name. But I think it's a lot of times just an angry spirit, if it's anything.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at it from a skeptical side, I think a lot of haunted locations, if they say they have a demon, they're going to get a lot more customers that will visit their haunted location to hunt for a demon. If you put I got attacked by a demon in your YouTube thumbnail, then you're just going to get a lot more clicks. Could it be a demon sometimes? In my opinion, there might be some places with some pretty evil stuff going on, but I think if you're dealing with a demon, it's going to be a little more serious than hearing a jail cell door slam and inside a prison at night, like, there was a demon that attacked us. I guess not always the case, but you never know. So
I think sometimes if you're hearing a jail cell door slam, it's pretty serious.
That's true. As we found out this weekend, those are quite heavy.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, they are. I always kind of can't figure out where it's really, really known to have demons and where it isn't as well. Like, I've heard the Conjuring House is supposed to have demons, and then some people go, no, it's not. It's the Arnolds, and I've heard I'm just literally talking about the places I've been, actually. And then the Bel Air House was supposed to have demons, but I don't know where that all came from as well. Like, sometimes the stories are these places inhabit demons, and other time, like even the Sally House, like the Sally House is demonic, and the little girl that, whether she ever existed or not, to name Sally, that died there. Oh, it's not really a little girl; it's a demon imposing as or impersonating a little girl, and it's to me like I just don't even know where is concrete supposed to be like an out and out demon.
Right, and also
they change all the time.
Yeah, they do, and it's, I guess in some cases, if there was a demonic possession that happened and it required an exorcism, right? So if you take, like, I don't really want to talk too much about the Conjuring House because we've covered that a billion times, but the at some point there was some sort of a possession that happened at the Conjuring House, right, Dave? Or am I just forgetting?
Yeah, it was the mother, Carol. And she was allegedly possessed by a demon, and the Warrens came and did the exorcism.
Right, so
got punched in the face.
That's right. So I think in locations where there is a case of some sort of documented possession, whether it was true or not, then there could be a case where there was a demon at one point at that house, and I think that's fine. But what is the evidence that the demon stuck around after? Are other people getting possessed?
That's another. Isn't the point of an exorcism is that you banish the demon back to wherever it came from? Isn't that supposed to be the point of an exorcism? Because if you're just taking a demon out of a person and they're just there in the ether, you haven't really done much. You might have saved that one person, but now someone else is screwed.
Yeah, there's different rituals that are done throughout different religions too. Like some religions will banish the demon out of the person who's possessed and into a chicken and then slaughter the chicken, and that's supposed to do it. Then there's other. Yeah, then there's other. It just depends on the religion.
Chicken, though. I'm guessing you're not allowed to eat chicken.
Don't eat the chicken. It's not a good idea.
Then it becomes a whole nother thing. Then you need to do 2 chickens, and it's just.
Or would your stomach acid like kill off whatever demon meat? The
Pepto-Bismol. You have to get the specific demonic version of Pepto-Bismol.
And then when you poo that out, does the demon just get turned into poo and gets flushed down the toilet?
Yeah,
that's why they say
these are the questions we need to be asking.
Gotta go drop the demons off at the pool. I don't think you would want to risk being haunted by a demonic chicken, though.
So. I bet it's still better than Ohio pizza, though. I'm just going to.
Ohio pizza was good, man.
No, it was not good, Dave. You
ordered a terrible pizza.
No, I didn't. I ordered a chicken bacon ranch pizza. That's like a standard.
With what else?
What do you mean?
It had pineapples on it, didn't it, Rob?
We have video evidence.
Pineapples are great.
Okay. Pineapples are good. You ordered a dumb pizza.
You ordered a dumb pizza and then ranked it a dumb score because
you're a fucking dumb pizza. I didn't order a dumb pizza. It's fine.
Oh, so you like the pizza? So look at that. See that? I'm kidding around.
No, I'm saying pineapple on pizza in general is fine. This pizza sucked. I was sick for 48 hours because of this pizza.
Side-eye guy, this is actually
if we're going to yell at anybody
to debunk this, pineapple on pizza. Your thoughts?
I'm going to answer that, but first I want to say what's funny is that when I went to the Bel Air House, which is in Ohio, Joe Fatale, Entity 7 Paranormal Joe Fatale, he had a Burger King down the road and he got really sick You got real. So maybe it's just something in the food in general in Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio
Anyone who
sucks.
lives in Ohio, just let me know. Do you often get like food sickness?
Yeah.
I'm just surprised you found a Burger King. All we could find is Wendy's the entire time. We didn't go to any of them, but there was Wendy's everywhere in Ohio.
If you go down, if you ever anyone goes to the Bel Air House, the closest place to get a bite to eat is a Burger King.
Oh,
interesting.
Okay.
We actually Googled it because we came across so many Wendy's while we were in Ohio that we were like, this has to be the most in the country. And it actually is in the top. It's in the top 3 states with the most Wendy's. And so it's probably number 1 per capita because the other ones, what was it?
Florida,
California,
and
and Florida, or Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
so it's funny. I'm going to go back to the pineapple pizza thing, but the actual Wendy's thing was brought up in one of my live streams not so long ago because there's one. I live in Australia. This is not an Australian accent, but I live in Australia. There's one opening up.
Sorry for a mental loop there.
Yeah. There's one opening. There's a Wendy's opening up like an hour's drive from me. And I've never had a Wendy's, and people are saying it's worth it. It's worth the hour drive. Can you guys confirm? Is a Wendy's worth a 2-hour return trip?
No.
I'm going to say no because I don't want to be on the hook for you driving 2 hours to go to a Wendy's. It is just fast food.
Well, there is a haunted location not too far away from there, so I can always like kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
I think Wendy's is decent for fast food.
Wendy's is better than most of like the. So I'd put Wendy's above like McDonald's and Burger King for sure.
I get the spicy chicken.
I found out this is really controversial as well, but Burger King over McDonald's any day, not even a contest.
No, you're fucking insane.
Yeah, that's what I hear a lot.
No, listen,
I hear that all the time.
Listen, you're insane. Like so Burger King. The problem with Burger King is it sits with you for the entire day. And you just taste it all day. That's why Burger King's worse.
Yeah, but Burger King tastes like fucking meat. McDonald's tastes like chemicals.
Yeah, but I do McDonald's usually like once a year, and I regret it after. Yeah. It's
all are bad, is what. Unless you want to sponsor the show, then you are the best.
Oh yeah. Don't eat fast food, but every now and then.
Yeah, but we're just talking about on a spectrum of fast food.
Yeah, but pineapple on pizza. Okay. I was no for the longest time. Like I had an ex-girlfriend who, for many years, who's Italian. She would have actually killed me in my sleep if I put pineapple on pizza. Like, guys, if anyone goes to Italy, they even hate chicken on pizza.
Yeah.
Like Italians, like you don't put chicken on pizza. That is sacrilege. So, they're very strict on what you put on pizza. But pineapple is the absolute worst. I like it.
Yeah, but
I can never tell her. But I can now say loud and proud, with long separators, I like pineapple on pizza.
You're going to show up your door with a knife.
Yeah, one last pizza. Just going to show up with a poison brick.
One last pizza question for you. Is it true that you fucking psychos in England put sweet corn on pizza?
He's in Australia.
No. He's from England, Jesse.
I'm from England. I left England when I was like 30. But no.
Okay, thank you for debunk. So that's the biggest debunk you've ever done. To be honest,
like some places might do it, but it's not known for it by any means.
Good. I heard that was like a thing, and I was disgusted.
No, one of the things that is kind of known, like you get it in like kebab shops. They'll do that. Also do pizza. They'll put doner meat. You know that doner meat kebab.
Yeah.
You guys have that in America?
It's not common, but I think I've seen it.
It's pure filth, but they'll put that on pizza.
Mm.
And it's disgusting. It's gross.
Yeah, people will justify putting pretty much anything on pizza.
Yeah, you can pretty much put anything you want on a pizza, yeah.
I'm really just
cheese and pepperoni. A question back to you guys on pizza. Sure. Where do you guys stand on anchovies on pizza?
I can't. It's too salty for me. I love salty foods. Yeah,
I like it, but it feels wrong because it was like such a big no-no when I was a child. It's like anchovies on pizza, but actually now that I'm an adult, it's actually pretty good.
I'm with Jesse.
I gotta like have half. I can't do a whole pizza with anchovies on it, but like if I'm going to share a pizza or just have half of anchovies and half of something else, I'll do that. But I'd
only want a piece. Like I'd only want one slice of like. It'd be something I'd want to like do at the table where we order like 3 different types of pizzas or something, and maybe I'd have one because it's just usually way too salty.
Here's a food question.
By the way.
Oh,
baked
no.
potato, tuna, beans. You don't put tuna and beans. It's either tuna or beans. I've never seen tuna, beans, and cheese. That's a bit too much.
But, I don't think he was. I don't think he was implying that you put it all on at once. I think he was saying those are the crazy toppings that he's seen on pizza.
Well, you put the cheese. The beans and cheese is very common to put together, but not the tuna's usually by itself.
I feel like that question was posed as though it's a baked potato with all of those things on it. Tuna,
that's what
beans,
I thought.
and cheese.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
maybe,
what I thought.
Or maybe they're sides.
I thought he was talking about on a pizza. Damn.
No.
Oh God, no! No, you don't.
Well, I mean, I've seen pizza. I've seen pizza with beans before. I haven't ordered it, but I've seen it done. It's actually pretty popular on the South Shore.
I've seen people put potato on pizza, and that is fucking weird.
Yeah, I don't like when people put pasta on pizza either.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I own a pizza shop, so we see it all. but yeah, we have a mac and cheese pizza, and it looks pretty damn good. Where they put like actual literal mac and cheese on it, and obviously then bake it or whatever. But it's just too heavy. Like I don't even know how people pick up a slice, but it's pretty popular. Then they add buffalo chicken to it too. Yeah.
Well,
anyways,
they add like the buffalo chicken. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so they'll have the mac and cheese pizza, and there will be crispy buffalo chicken on the pizza as well.
It's too much.
Good God,
it's a lot. I just don't even know how you pick up a slice like that.
Well, if you ever come investigate,
at that point, it's not pizza anymore.
Yeah, just a little.
I agree. Yeah,
like you're putting. I mean, noodles are basically bread. You're putting bread on top of bread, covering it in cheese. I don't know. Anyways,
it's a whole lot of carbs.
Yes.
Matthew Thomas asked, "How's my wrist?" And that's because I was breaking records and wrists at the punching machine. We actually met up with Matthew T in Ohio. It's a great time.
That's right. It was a great time.
If you ever come to New England again to investigate, and we investigate with you, we will get you good pizza side-eye guy.
That's right. We have some of the best out here.
Where was it? New England, you say?
Yeah, we're close to Boston.
Okay, I'm trying. My American geography is crap.
Okay. Yeah. So New England is just the few states around us. Yeah. Yeah. The Northeast. Yep. Yeah. Like Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Rhode Island.
Yeah. You guys want to jump into some quick reviews?
Yeah.
All right. So I got a few from Apple. Bruno and Oak titled it The Best Podcast. I started listening to this podcast back in 2022 on Spotify, and I loved it. I have listened to every episode from the first. I listened to it in the car, so I was excited when I learned you were on Apple Podcasts as well. I can't wait for future shows. So thank you, Bruno and Oak.
Yeah.
Diesel 30 titled theirs, amazing podcast. I'm a truck driver and just came across your podcast, and it's a great podcast that I enjoy listening to while on the road. I'm on a listening binge right now as I'm listening from the beginning until I catch up. I was wondering if you have any ghost stories that happen on highways. Keep up the great work. I believe
Clinton Road in New Jersey.
Yep. And one of our paranormal updates at one point had a highway ghost that a truck driver saw. I got a YouTube.
There's a popular one in New South Wales in Australia as well, which I think goes along the coastline and leads to a for that, it's really bad. I know I brought this up and I can't remember the name of the road, but I think I'm pretty sure it's near a lighthouse as well, which is also known to be haunted or thought to be haunted.
Now we have to look into it because we need to do more Australia stuff, anyways. Anadrem on YouTube wrote, "Okay, there's like 9 fucking million ghost paranormal podcasts out there, and most of them are boring AF or dumb AF. This one is nice AF," which is one of my favorite reviews we've ever got.
That's
a good one. Put that on a t-shirt.
Quick Spotify one is from M. Yoda, 5 stars. I love you guys. Best show ever. I hope you guys cover more stuff in New Mexico. It was your Albuquerque episode that got me hooked. Keep up the great work. And we also got an email from Podcast for 5 stars, which was titled What a Podcast Should Be. From the intro stories, the events that occur around the locations they cover, the fun and engaged discussion and banter, the engagement with their followers, the hard work, commitment, and effort that goes into this podcast is second to none. These men present great content, are fully engaged, are in it for the long haul. Their community is incredible. If you want a fun, factually accurate, and engaging podcast about ghost stories and more, this is the one for you. Just be careful because Dave will challenge our guest. I added that last part.
Whisper says, I grew up in Hawaii. We put chili on rice. I've had chili on rice. It's
chili
actually
on rice seems fine.
Yeah. I mean, chili is already pretty heavy, so I feel like you don't need the rice. But I have done that before, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Before
also, poison on bricks, pretty good. Don't try it.
Before we read the Patreon names, you have anything you want to promote coming up, Side Eye Guy, or just the channel?
No, I just like being on podcasts, guys. Not really. I've always got a new video coming out. I try and get a video out every 5th day. And I've got a few in the chamber. Oh, I'm going to America. I should say that. I'm doing a little mini tour around America to go to some haunted places and all the rest of it. I think I leave here in like 2 weeks.
Nice. Wow. What are some of the spots you're hitting? Oh.
The biggest one is going to be around Nevada. So going to be in Virginia City. Like the way this has kind of gone, it's all been a bit crazy. But should be doing some interesting collabs. Hopefully. I don't want to say too much about the venue. Some of these paranormal locations can be a bit of a pain to actually get them to take your money. But, to actually go there. But some other places like the Metzger, the Clown Motel, the Goldfield, which I'm very much looking forward to. Goldfield Hotel. That's going to be my highlight, I think. Washoe Club, Mackey Mansion, a couple of cemeteries around Virginia City, and then should be flying over to Tennessee and going to go to a couple of places around Tennessee as well.
Very cool. Very nice. What time is it in Australia right now?
It is 12:25 p.m.
Okay. Not too bad. We usually have an Australian in chat. We usually have Joe. I didn't see her today. She might be here. That's our Australian regular who usually gives me an update on what time it is in Australia. But I suppose I could have used the internet and not asked you that question. Anyways,
work right now. It's like midweek.
She usually makes the time to swing in. But either way, so thank you so much. Make sure you guys sub to his channel on YouTube. Like I said, I spent all day binging it. It was extremely entertaining, very well edited, well put together. He's also got merch. That website's still active, should be right.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, it is. Merch is still there.
Hell yeah. All right, very good.
Hell yeah.
Well, we'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining. Is there anything else?
Let him stick around for the Patreon names because I want to talk to him after the show.
I'm just going to say thank you very much for having me. I've had fun.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into Patreon names. Who knows if there are any side guy related to Patreon names. So one of the things that we do here is our audience started doing this and then it became a thing. So people will alter their Patreon names to usually just make fun of Rob. So that's why we enjoy it. Well, let's see. Let's let the Patreon list tell the tale. So we'll start with our VIPs. Kick it off with we're burying Dave in Ohio. We have Jeremy K. Was that our RIP of the week?
That's our RIP of the week.
Jeremy
M.
Look at that. All right. Almost stole it right under his legs there. Ryan F, J Gooch 725, Jennifer A, and our actual RIP of the week this week is Jeremy M, KCW, Bradina 77, Kathy Ferguson, Kitten Clown Dozer, Ghost Nurse, aka Cannibal of Peppers. JP, another Vice. Dave has a new kangaroo onesie with bottom flap. West Virginia coal miner Tess, pineapple on pizza is the best. Kate and Steve M, Sharon V, Glitter Tees, Cammy from Washington, Kelly C, Liz Young, Ohio Pizza rates Rob a 1-star. Good. All the turntables. Good. Look at that. We have Inspires Gaming, Pizza. Allison V, Robert H, Anna C, Emmanuel Kant, a real pissant, very rarely stable. Mom and Pops W, Father Squash the Elder, Lisa J, and Rob Coakley is the birthday king of the Midwest.
That's true.
That's right. That is a fact. Hopping into the next tier here, we have the Warren's Wards. Kicking it off with Lisa G. Lisa G. Angelic Insanity. Draw me like one of your French ghosts. Degenerate Gambler. Voodoo Ghost who shouldn't have hit on 19. Jamie E. Nick M. T-Cat Whisper. Jeremy M. Wreaking Havoc. This is Wrecking Havoc. Wrecking Havoc with my foul-smelling 7-inch grok. Beth C. Apple Steph, Rachel G. That one was a little disturbing. Sarah B. Her Lady Spook Ship, Victim of Ohio, Morgan S. Julie Gooley, Colby Remembers, Kath Q. Chris Connolly, LBPS founder. I'm not the next HGGS guest. That'll change soon. The other Rachel B. Sarah Cook, Janice G. Marfire, Lily Anthony. Y'all, we live in New England. What do we actually know about good pizza anyway?
Wow. What? Are you fucking kidding me?
I'm
swearing way too much this episode.
Pizza. Rob loves Ohio pizza with pineapple. Rob's custard toes boiled in hot dog juice served on sandpaper. I'm going to allow this. The judge later joined dupe. Did I miss something there? I'm going to allow this. The judge later joined dupe.
I don't know what dupe is.
I don't know what's going on there.
Steph on guitar. Steph, explain yourself. Next up, we're going to hop into the Ghost Pirate Mafia. And let's start with Taco Violator, GS Warrior, Mothman covering body and humming Don't Be Suspicious. We have Coffin Barbecue at Rob's house, Coal to the Miscellany, GOB, Grim B, D the Lobster Dancing, Banana Land Dinosaur Monster, Susan C, Just Ghostly, Witchy Kitty 416, Deb 62, Karen L, Michael M, Amber R, Brant C, Mrs. Nardozzi, Shane O'Mac, Joe, Trevor S, Christina S, Kate C, Kelly C, bloop, bloop, bloop. Crazy Legs, the Sloppy Joe Blob. Oh, that's from the movie. We remember this. Cowboys are the worst franchise ever. Miss Macabre, Michelle Naroku. Like a cat, he chucks his Swedish meatballs through bedroom windows.
Okay.
Remember that.
That's from some episode.
Mr. Coakley, are you sure this wasn't a dream you had about slurping toes from soup while fishing?
Also, side-eye guy, I don't eat the ends of hot dogs, and soup sucks. So, if you're wondering.
What, soup sucks?
Yeah, soup's mid.
No one's ever gone. Yeah, I like a soup. I can't deal with a cup of soup.
Gotta go for the whole bowl.
Do you Americans have cup of soups?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Yeah,
I got a cup of this. This pissed me off. I got a cup of French onion soup when we were in Ohio, and they had like the bread just stuffed in there with it, which maybe is a thing, but I've never had it in French onion soup. It kind of
in the soup.
Off. In the soup, just soggy bread. And I was like, I wish you didn't do it.
In the soup.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Didn't care for it. Yeah.
No, I'll be with you.
It's not a thing, right? Like, why would you do that to me?
No, I've never heard of that before.
Neither have I. Yeah. Not a soup guy either, though.
Sorry, just quickly. Is chowder considered soup to you guys?
No.
I don't consider it soup.
Do you consider it objective soup?
One man's subjective soup is another man's powder.
All right, finishing off this list, we have D from H-Town, Meta A, Monster Mom 04, Wicked Alley, Dark Snark. Choose a major that you love and you'll never work a day in your life because that field isn't hiring. Sad. Megan S, Arcade Hunters, Wayne C, Rob cries in bed while eating Ohio pizza all alone. Crystal Quinn, aka not a Rob fan. Thick Boy Freddy's baby mama was definitely yeeted. Alicia E, Spinny Boy Freddy knows that Rob's insatiable love for Ohio is an objective truth. Look at that. You've got Patreon thinking all philosophically.
Your love for Ohio transcends the human mind.
This one's a good one. I'm Rob's Pizza from Ohio. I feel violated. I need therapy now. Sam from the Ball, Joe, all my bras are haunted. R, El Capone, Huggy Bear. And finishing off with these last few, we have coming soon, the Ryman Auditorium, presented by Dave. There you go. Solar Flare, Mariah M, Kiralee J, Kiralee J, Cody G, Hooply Whooply, Birthday Witch, and Lieutenant Hitchcock Buttchapel. So thank you for being on Patreon. And yeah, that'll pretty much do it. It's been a long episode, so we will let you go there, Mr. Side-Eye Guy. And keep it up. Always enjoy the content. Enjoy your trip to America. If you end up in New England and want to eat some real pizza, you just give us a call.
I'll give you a shout.
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks again for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. And that'll pretty much do it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Hometown Ghost Stories, talking about the Greenbrier ghost, as well as food and philosophy.
Yes. Well, catch you guys later. Peace.
See you. Bye.